It's January 2021 and welcome to my first Friends Reacts video of the new year. Now, this video is put up in response to something pretty fantastic that happened on the very last day of 2020 when the hiddenpalace.org website and a few other people worked together to release to the online Sonic fan community a prototype of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Now, this is quite a significant thing because one of the vagaries of the fact that video game design is quite a commercial enterprise and that companies are very much fixated on future profits and working in the moment, they're not always that good at preserving archive material or anything that they don't see an immediate profit in. So a lot of early days of video game development, there's a lot of material, a lot of source code that's been lost to the ages because it wasn't preserved, because it wasn't kept. And the designers and programmers of Sonic have always, before the game was released, there was a lot of footage and a lot of material that was put online that was not present in the final game. And Yuji Naka and other people who worked at Sega at the time have reflected with disappointment that a lot of these early prototypes were lost. So they're unplayable and unable to be found anymore. But on the 31st of December 2020, on the last day of the year, hiddenpalace.org released to the ROM for the entire community, so we can play through this version of the game from 1990 before the game was finished and before it was ready for release. So there's a lot of stuff in here which we've only ever seen screenshots of, and I've not had a chance to play through it yet. This is going to be a live sort of reaction to comparing what's here in this pre-release footage compared to the final game, and it's already, as you can see from the screenshot, it's already slightly different just by the names of the zones in this level select list. You can see immediately Sparkling Zone, Clockwork Zone, that's Labyrinth Zone is number 2. That's interesting. So there are several ways you can access this ROM. One of these one is actually just on Steam if you have the Sega and Mega Drive and Genesis Classic. Sega's been actually nice enough. They package a pretty decent Mega Drive emulator onto Steam, and they're relatively friendly and relaxed about people putting up the code for other Genesis games that can be played through the same emulator. So to access them, you just go on the community tab of the game on Steam if you have it installed, click on Workshop, and then search for the Sonic 1 prototype, and all you have to do is click on subscribe on it. And once you're in that game, you can then boot up the game, hit play, and load the Mega Drive Classic Sega Genesis Classics collection as you normally would. So let's just let this boot. It's an interesting decision that Sega made to package, or I say all. The Mega Drive had a library of several hundred games, and the problem with that is, well, a lot of those games are licensed and they've had intellectual property which are not collectible anymore, or would be difficult to get the license to. But what Sega decided to do was release a collection that put a fair chunk of them, about 50 all in all together, and they wanted to make that accessible so that anyone can play it. It does mean that if you're not one of those 50, yes, the best way to access them is through the workshop and the fan release mods, which are completely unofficial and probably not endorsed by the rights owners. You've got here this nice little animation that Sega put together, demonstrating all of the main characters that they want to show off. You've got Shinobi, you've got Sonic, we had Toadjum and an Earl. This I think is Altered Beast. Yes, there we go. Lots of different characters. That's from Golden Axe. And this really is sort of like a retro highlight of the things that Sega was doing in the 1990s. Just a bit of a nostalgia hit. So this was done to celebrate the 16-bit days of the Sega Genesis, the Mega Drive Classics. And you've got there what they considered to be the premier franchises at the top. So if we press any button, what they then did, which was a little bit more controversial, is they recreated what they thought a kid's bedroom from the 1990s would look like. So we've got a Sonic poster on the wall, we've got a game collection. So yeah, this is definitely back in the days where all games were physical collections. And we've got here, it's a fairly decent library, but as I said, probably most people didn't have more than 50 games in the Mega Drive collection. I certainly didn't. These are not the games I would have had in my collection largely, but they're good, they're fine. And as this is the PC release and Steam release, we can click on mods, and we can just select and load into our fake 1990s Mega Drive the game. And here we are. This is the prototype. I've not played for this before. This is going to be quite exciting. Right, immediately, Sonic is breaking through the title logo. You've got a bit of a podgy belly there going on. Just load up the demo. So this is Sonic. Oh, Sonic dies in the demo. The demos are a thing in video games that if you didn't press anything on the title screen, they would boot up the game as if to show you what the gameplay would actually look like if you weren't actually in control. It's something from the days of arcade machines when you'd have a lot of these video games consoles available in arcades and you could watch them be played through. This is now a demo of the special stage, and it's very, very different from the level design. I mean, the graphics are the same. This looks pretty similar, but it's this is not a design I recognise. This does not look like any special stage layout from the final game, which yeah, you've got a few rings there. Not quite sure what's the demo's going on. It's an interesting layout, but I think it's time we start playing the game. So as I said, this would normally be played through as if, you know, it was sitting in an arcade machine to show people that the game was fun, that was exciting, and what it would be like if you played through it. So here we go, Green Hill Zone 1. And immediately, yeah, even though this is pre-release, they've got the mechanics of Sonic's movement down. You've got the movement, the rolling, getting hit by rings. This is all playing pretty functionally. The little animal is being freed as you escape from the animals. Jumping over the head of the bridge, and immediately this is something we'd seen. Oh, okay, I thought that would hurt you. Apparently it's not. Okay, you can push it. Oh, and the ball fell down the bridge. Now that's interesting. So we'd seen this before in a lot of screenshots. You can push the ball around. There were screenshots. Okay, you can't push the ball. There were screenshots of this ball in motion, and it falls down the bridge every single time. So a lot of people have seen screenshots of that little stage, and that's not found anywhere in the final game. Behaves a little bit weirdly. I can see why they decided to take it out. These plants, maybe that plant's a bit bigger, a little bit different. Who knows? Well, that's different. There are nowhere in the final version of Sonic the Hedgehog, there are nowhere that many spikes, particularly not horizontal. So you can stand on the side of them, and you've got, okay, Sonic will start to fall if he stands near the edge of the stage. Bouncing physics are all there. This is, yeah, a lot of people said that Green Hill Zone was a level that Sonic Team iterated on time after time after time. They kept changing it to try and get this first level as perfect as it could possibly be. But I'm seeing a lot of similarities to us. The major difference so far is that, oh, that is a different colour robot to the final game. The main difference I'm seeing so far is just the abundance of spikes and that one-off stage has of the ball. Now in the final version of the game, this would fling you into the air. There we go. Okay, so this is stuff that was all carried through to the final version of the game. But yeah, that was not bright pink, I'm pretty sure, in the final game. That's quite... I actually prefer this version. That is quite unique. There we go. Pastier Robotnik. Oh! And we get, this is a sprite that we've seen before that's been... I like the way his fist just pumps into the air after you've taken the air. That's quite cool. So that was the prototype version of Green Hill Zone from the 1990s. Here we have Act 2. The crab meat enemies, jump over the bridge. As I was saying, so yeah, Green Hill Zone may have been iterated time and time again, but they clearly had a lot of the final design locked down pretty early on, because this is, minus a few little changes, I'm seeing a lot of similarities here with the final level map. They even had the loops in place. Now this is the very first. Anyone who's familiar with the Sonic franchise and where it went from about the year 2000 onwards, one of the things that always bugged me about Sonic the Hedgehog was the appearance of bottomless pits. Now these are areas of the stage where pretty much from the Dreamcast era onwards there were entire levels designed where Sonic would traverse through these roads that are sort of suspended from the sky. So you'd have these vast pits underneath where you could fall to your doom. Now, this is something that a lot of us associate with the 1990s, but no, here we are, Act 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, even in the prototype. This is the very, very first bottomless pit of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Just confirming to myself there is no spin dash. Oh, there we are. Those spikes are lethal. So something they added in later Sonic games was that when you got hit by a spike, you'd have a moment of invulnerability where as you were bouncing off the spike, you wouldn't get hurt if you hit another one. But that's not something they had in the original Sonic game. You got hit by a spike, if you bounced and landed on another spike, that was it, game over. Well, not game over, but momentary death. Just let's run through these. Oh, even with invincibility, spikes are quite lethal. So that's clearly something they haven't programmed. Oh, we've got another rolling ball here. You can land on it. That's interesting. Oh dear. Oh, there we are. First bottomless pit achieved. I was a bit disappointed the first time when I couldn't go sideways into the moving platform and got killed by the spikes. But that time it was definitely the bottom of the screen. But anyway, I think we've seen enough of Green Hill Zone. Let's just get through this and out for the next level. Although let's go a different route. Oh, I lie. This is the first bottomless pit, not what the spikes were. Spikes. Same. This is feeling slightly different, but maybe I'm misremembering. Lots of those glorious pink robots. So you can't land on them until they hit the floor. That's the same. Up we go. Now that's interesting. So this was possible to do in the final version of the game. There was a point particularly at the end of that first act where you went down the rolling thing and you were catapulted to the air. If Sonic touches the bottom of the screen, that counts as a bottomless pit. Apparently, in this prototype, if you hit a spring high enough and then fall, you can hit the bottom of the screen. So that triggered as a bottomless pit, which is a little bit surprising. I don't remember that happening in the final version of the game. So maybe that's something they changed in the coding to just make the springs a little less, maybe the gravity. So oh no, it's moving without me. I just wanted to see if I could land on that ball, but apparently I can't. So here we go, round these again. And yeah, so Sonic doesn't do the fist pump. So yeah, he goes up and then the fist pumps into the air only when you reach the top of the jump. That is quite cool. I'm sure in the first act I had over 50 rings and it didn't trigger the special stage. So even though they had a special stage in the demo, they don't appear to have coded. On the final version of the game, if you complete the act and you have 50 rings, yeah, that's definitely a stage hazard. If you had 50 rings in the final version of them, you'd access those special stage areas, which is where you can get the Chaos Emeralds, but they don't seem to have coded that into this pre-release version of the game yet, even though the coding for the special stage definitely exists because we saw them in the demo that played on the title sequence. Let's just see if these speed-up shoes work. Yes, they do. And you can zoom. Oh, yeah, this is very, very similar to the final level design of Sonic the Hedgehog. And we even have... Oh, this was quite an infamous trap because, okay, of course you can jump over it, but they really want you to move at a speed over the rotating wall that avoids the spikes. Falling waterfalls and bursting through the wall. This is very, very familiar stuff. On goes Sonic. A few more rings for the boss. Now let's see if they've coded the boss in. So Eggman should appear from the top right here. But here he is. Give him a second to see the ball come down. There we are. So that rotating ball, I said it's not the final version game. It is, because Eggman suspends one and he uses it as a wrecking ball. It's probably one of the most famous bosses in Sonic history because it's been iterated on quite a few times. You know, is it because you're running out of ideas or because you want to get a cheap nostalgia hit? I've seen this boss improved on a few times that I thought were actually quite impressive, but it's never worked as well as it did here in the original Green Hill Zone. And yes, we have little animals being released. This is it's nice to see the game in only slightly different from the final game. But I think Green Hill Zone, as I said, is a stage they spent a lot of time working on. The other levels should be more different. Marble Zone. Here we. Oh, they move. The UFOs rotate. I wasn't. Okay, so this is famous. One of the pre-release screenshots of the Marble Zone had these UFOs in the sky. I don't think they're UFOs, are they? UFOs wouldn't rotate that way. Are they planets? They look like Saturn. But yeah, no, there were these screenshots of this zone with these rings going sideways, UFOs in the sky. I'd never seen them in motion before. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we always knew that they moved, but that's a very interesting design. It puts me nicely at moving. I'm very much reminded of what would eventually go on to become the Sega Saturn logo for the console that followed the Mega Drive. Let's ignore the 382X. But okay, the Marble Zone. Ignoring the items in the sky, this is feeling a little bit familiar. We have pistons, we have the above ground and below ground. Okay, maybe I'm misremembering. I think that block is a little bit further away from the bus. And was there some negative player feedback saying they liked pushing the block but they didn't want to push it that far, or am I misremembering? But yes, they've got the programming to push the block onto the thing to raise the platform. The spike's still pretty... Oh, very deadly. More deadly than I remember. Okay, let's... Okay, clearly I'm at it. There was some textual error on that game over screen. Let's try the level select code to see if we can up, down, left, right, hold A, press start, and we're into level select. So, that was Marble Zone. Why is Labyrinth Zone before Marble Zone level select, even though it's not? Okay, I was sort of expecting it to jump me straight to Labyrinth Zone, though, as we'd seen in the level select code. I think it's a little bit unfair to have that. I mean, you're clearly just meant to roll into it rather than try and jump on it. And I do think it's a bit unfair to have those robots, badniks, appear before any rings in the stage. They've programmed in the stages catching a light. I loved how immersive Sonic Team were clearly trying to make Sonic Sport. They wanted to have an engine that felt as realistic and physically... Yeah, as they're having programmed, I've spoken before about the momentum of Sonic Hedgehog, but they wanted the world to feel like it had that sense of sort of everything interacted with each other, everything was interlocking. Pushing the block, and this time I won't die on the spikes down here. Okay. I have to be careful this time. There we go. Right, I think just best to stay away from spikes. So a lot of people criticise Marble. Okay, at least lava doesn't behave like spikes. Oh, what's Eggman doing in the bottom right there? Is that a counter? When I die, does Eggman appear every time there? That's definitely not in the final game. I was praising the fact that lava does appear to have you some moments of invulnerability which they hadn't programmed in for the spikes, but clearly it's not something you can rely or abuse, or the game will punish you for it. Just a little bit too slow there. I'm clearly out of practice. I'm not used to be honest, I am not used to playing Sonic the Hedgehog on a computer with a keyboard. Definitely a game I'm much happier with a control of a functional D-pad in my hand. But this is worth it. Something a little bit different. A little bit different despite how clearly advanced these first two levels were. We've seen that the later stages are not the same, but Green Hill and Marble Garden... I keep saying Marble Garden, I've been playing Sonic 3 too much recently. I would rather play Marble Garden than Marble Zone, to be honest, though. Just cannot get that jump. Yeah, my keyboard is sticking. I have a ring. As long as I have a ring, you're safe. That's the tenet of Sonic. Apart... Oh! I do not recognise that. It's actually quite cute. A nice little... So there was... There we go. There were falling spikes. I was worried that was going to crush me for a second. Now, yeah, falling spikes like this do exist in the final game, but that small one going sideways, I don't remember being like that. Get a ring. With the lava. Hello, UFOs again. And end of the stage. So that's very, very familiar. Sega Saturn logo, definitely. So clearly that maybe it is meant to be Saturn or UFO. We've spent decades thinking of them as UFOs. Oh, was that ring box there in the final version of the game? Okay, I got stuck on something there. Wow, that's not Okay. Right, clearly some final touching up on the game. Oh! Right, in the final version again, that is not... I am getting a horrible... I mean, this is actually quite nice. That's momentum. That is an item stuck against the two walls, and every time you land on it, you just provide that little bit of force to push it down until eventually, at the very bottom, it just fell that bottom 4 feet. But I'm getting a horrible flash forwards there to what would eventually become the barrel in Carnival Night Zone, which really, really was my nemesis as far as Sonic's concerned. Same idea there about using up and down and verticality and forbidding you from move sideways that I just don't like. But it's an interesting idea that was not present in the final game. And here we are. Lava chase sequence. Oh, that's nice. Whoa! They didn't fall. They were already in place. I mean, that actually makes it a little bit more interactive because if anyone knows what is the lava not... Oh, it is chasing me. You know, the lava, if you know what you're doing, that sequence is not that difficult at all, but that little interactivity of the spikes falling down, I actually quite like. Onto the spinners. So in Marble Zone, it's just a little bit too stop-start, and I can put up with zones being stop-start, but there are no points in this level where it really encourages you to open up. That's probably about as long and straightforward as straight as you get. And the rest of it from this point onwards really is going to be very much a start-stop affair. So, onto the block. Up we go. Now at this point in the game, if I was playing on a proper Mega Drive, it would struggle to render the number of horizontal sprites on a plane. So you get this weird gradient effect where things start to become semi-transparent as it flicks back and forth between the sprites that it thinks it should be displaying. But playing this on the Mega Collection, of course, that limitation appears to have been removed. It's a nice little advantage of playing through the Steam version. Although I'm sure there are some purists out there who would prefer to play the accurate ROM and an accurate Mega Drive. I always see the appeal of that, and actually if I could load an accurate ROM into my proper Mega Drive console, relatively easy, I'd be doing that. But for ease of access, I think this release is just an easy way for most people to access this technology. You can actually use this workshop command in Steam to access a lot of different Mega Drive games and Genesis games, which are not part of these 50 releases that Sega officially endorse. And so if anyone who, because Sega's released the emulator, anyone who's got the... I thought that might be a second of vulnerability there, because anyone who has the actual code of the original games can just load them into the emulator using exactly the same method that I used to load this prototype on the 90s Gamer Kid bedroom screen. Yeah, exactly the same. We have falling. Oh. That pretty much is the end of that level. So. Let's restart. So up, down, left, right, A, start. Stage 3 of Marble Zone, please. Yeah, this is hardly going to be the most professional of runs, as anyone who's looking for a speed game. I can, when I'm really trying, usually play better than this. But this is just fun messing around, exploring, seeing what's the same and what's different. I'm seeing, okay, one of the things Marble Zone, we've got another one of these. Yeah, no button press, just jump on it, use your downward force to push it down. Far, far too like the barrel for my taste. Just instantly, no, I'm glad they removed that. I can see what they were going for. It doesn't quite have the effect though. I think it moves a little bit too much when you land it. It should move. The problem is it moves at consistent speed. If it moved just a jot down and then fell, it needs to have a bit of a jolty movement to explain exactly what's going on. I can see why they probably cut that out. But all of the other boring parts of the Marble Zone that they wanted to code in, I mean, it's good physics. This is impressive technology from the 1990s. We're several decades on from that now. It's now just, I mean, it's not bad game design. It's just not great. Sonic, I'm gonna die. Is that the same layout in the final zone? Anyway, let's try a different zone. So after Marble, it was Spring Yard, which I presume is sparkling. So here we should be. Wow. The final version of this game does not look. I mean, the foreground's the same, but the backgrounds do not look anything like that. What was going on there? Okay, the camera really was struggling with the vertical movement there. That makes me even more... Okay, I don't recognise that spike on the left. Let's go back and have a look at that. Nice! Okay, stage hazards which are not present in the final game. I'll have to keep an eye out for them. Particularly as I've already demonstrated, I'm quite easily can kill myself without meaning to. As I've demonstrated. Let's just get through this bit. Clearly today's not my day. Happy New Year, everyone! Oh dear. Okay. And the trouble is, if I go too fast, I'll hit that spring and it will send me. I don't want to hit that spring. Okay. I'm very glad suddenly that they changed this level design, because yeah, if this was Sonic 2 and you had the spin dash here, you could just use that to, and the trouble is, there we go. That feels very unfair. Okay, so we have the moving pillars. What's the text in the background say? Is that goodbye? Goodyear? Goodyear tyres are a thing. Okay, go, go. Goodbye. Okay. Button. What's the button do? Yeah, not quite fast enough. Kind of expected that. Now, would there have been a rolling enemy in the final version of the game? Okay, the spike. Oh, this is... I don't know, it's so similar that I really should see some of these stage hazards coming, but the little differences really are throwing me off. Oh, we have a hidden route. Does it go anywhere or is it a dead end? It's a dead end. Never mind. What was that noise? There was an extra noise there that I don't recognise from the final game. Oh, these sparkling things are in the foreground. Okay, so this zone was renamed Spring Yard Zone. The prototype version seems to be sparkling. It's got quite neat little sparkling... Oh, don't... Right. That is not... Yeah, that is a slightly messier... Now, I can see they're probably trying to show off the momentum. It does make this jump a little bit cruel, though. Yeah, I can see one of the things they've definitely... It's definitely... I wonder if they got some negative player feedback about that, because even someone needs to approach with a bit more of a run-up. There we go. Yeah. Given how much trouble people who don't seem to know what they're doing with Sonic find... Okay, these... Much. You can't jump up. And of course, without a spin dash, you can't get out. Oh. Okay. I'm liking the difficulty. I'm not prepared for it, but I am liking it. Another downward section. And they are just going to be default. And the graphic. Let's restart and load up 2. That is quite cool, though. Stage 2. Okay, we have the spring on the left. Yeah, this level design is a lot messier than the final version of the game will be. They definitely cleaned this out to make it a bit more... Okay, they are extra spikes not present. Okay, I'm glad I made it over them. they are definitely not present in the final version of the game. Let's go up and see if that's the way out here. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 compared to Sonic 2 and 3 has a lot more stop-start sections. And not just stop-start, but stop, wait, and then restart. But that's how a lot of early platforming games from the 1990s were. If I hit I seem to have hit, I don't know, but that's, I mean, it's a prototype game. A section that you can't advance through. So let's load Act 3. Sparkling Zone. I mean, I prefer, definitely the background is slightly disorientating. Yeah, okay, so the way he rolls there and sort of clings to the surfaces is not the same as it is in the final game. I like it, but I can also see how it leads to messy. Yeah, to be honest, I would rather just be flying into the air there, so that I could land. Yeah, because at the moment there's no opportunity for me to build momentum here to go up on the right. It's fine though. Have I encountered another zone that's not finished? Yeah, prototype games, you know, they're not designed. They're more sort of there for people to work through the engine to make sure it's all working. They're not designed to be played through from start to finish. So I'm just going to guess that that's an unfinished level. Right, I know very little about how Labyrinth Zone coped with the prototype stages, so let's find out. That feels different. Why is there an upwards path there that doesn't go anywhere? The background is a lot. Oh, am I meant to be in a cave with streams of light sparkling through? So the final version of this level is infamous because it's got a lot of water in it, and it was. I'm not feeling the water. Maybe there is. Be interesting to see if there's any water. I'm not feeling like this is a water area just yet. This was the water late edition. Was there no water? Okay, so this zone is infamous in the Sonic community for being one of the hardest levels in the series history, because now maybe they were always planning to add the water, but this is just feeling like a dry underground cave. Now, underground caves are quite famous, great, game, stereotype. Mario's got a lot of underground sections. I can see why they'd want to do something similar for Sonic. It was a very dry. I mean, there's no enemy placements. No enemies whatsoever, so this is clearly an unfinished level. But I can't tell if the geometry is the same, because without the water that feels so. I'm not going to be able to get up there. But no, Labyrinth Zone, this entire area would have been underwater, and you'd have to be stopping to get air bubbles so that you didn't drown throughout. And the music for when you started to drown was absolutely horrific. They haven't coded any of that in. But I am just not seeing. Like that background doesn't say to me like there will. I wonder if that's temporary. Let's load Act 2. That's fascinating. Act 2. Different stage background for this act. We've lost the light. Sort of implying you're getting deeper into the cave. I mean, how different would Sonic the Hedgehog franchise have been without a water level in that first game? Because it became a franchise staple. Because water doesn't just... it's not just a hazard because you can drown, it slows your ability to move. You have to waste time looking for the air bubbles and stopping and waiting for them to spawn. But you also cannot physically move as fast, you're hampered. Now, in the final version of the game, I'm pretty sure in an area like this, there would have been a switch. Labyrinth Zone also had these moving platforms that would bring you into the sky, and of course this prototype doesn't have them yet. But the background there is just darker. It feels like you're deeper into the cave. Maybe rather than being a flooded ruin, this was always meant to be an underground exploration, and maybe Robotnik was drilling deep into the earth. Let's see what Act 3 has to say for us. Let's see if my theory has been proved correct. Wrong. Didn't hold A. Restart again. Yeah, just get the level status up, down, then you hold up, down, left, right, then you hold A before you press the start button. Now, either this is just implying. Okay, right. The final version of the zone had a looping. Now, the final version of the zone had a looping section where you would essentially fall down these. And there was water. Maybe there was always meant to be water. Maybe not. The camera in the final version of the game, the camera followed you much better. But here, it's just camera can't keep up with you. But they've installed the looping. They clearly meant for this to be an area that you would have to navigate your way out of. There's the ability here to stick to the ceilings, which I'm not completely a fan of. In the final version of the game, there was water here. Okay. They really, they needed to work on that camera. Okay. Right. Let's see if you can carry on this level. So the question is the water something that they're still planning to add? Or was that a late addition? I'm digging the cave exploration theme that seemed to be present in the last two stages, and now just a pure black background. Sure, it's primitive, but it's masterclass, and I actually think I prefer it to what's in the final version of the zone. Put a few enemies in there, a few strings, make these stages completable, and you'd be in for a little bit of a treat. Oh, a second looping section. I like that. Is that in the final game? Without the water, it feels so hard to judge. Oh yeah, right. So normally you'd be entering a boss here where you'd have to ride Quarks up to the top and then chase Robotnik up a vertical pathway. That's clearly not going to be completable. This just feels a little bit dead. But I am very, very much impressed by how different this zone feels. Okay, Labyrinth was different. Starlight. Now this is interesting because there are X's after stage. What does the X imply? Well, this is already feeling a lot. Well, that's different. Yes, you can force yourself to doom. There was a hidden path there in the original. Well, not a hidden path, hidden items. But this is feeling a lot closer to where the final version of the game ended up. Yeah, okay. I'm feeling a lot more moving along above a suspended, crushing. Look at these, they're nice there in the final game. Come on, let's try that again. Okay, I am definitely, unlike Labyrinth, which just felt very different, I am definitely seeing here the boneworks. It's not as complete as Marble and Green Hill were, but I am seeing the boneworks that would lead into the final version of this stage. Glad I did not die there. It's a little bit more messy, a little bit more... Oh! Collapsing pathways, and there seemed to be a little bit of something holding back my momentum there as I ran over them. Now, if in the final version there probably would have been a fan here to stop me running left, a little bit of a stage hazard. Yeah, Sonic 1 also had these platforms over dead surfaces. I like the cones. Oh, that one's going to take me up. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the boneworks of what became Starlight, was it? In the final. I should have gone left there. Never mind. Wrong way. And at least it's not dead. Oh, they have fans. That's nasty. Interesting, right? No signposts. Every time I've died on one of these stages, I've had to restart the act from the beginning. There are no signposts yet to save your progress. Now in Sonic 1, there are, well, every Sonic game, there are several of these located. Of course, let's try the lower path this time. There are several signposts located throughout the stage, and if you activate one, okay, so there are just. I like the physics. Sonic is definitely a lot more clingy onto walls than he is here than in the final version of the game. But the problem with that is it's just hampering your momentum a little bit too much. A few points when I should be going fast, I should be sort of the downwards gravity pulling me forward, and instead because he's clinging to the wall, I'm stuck. Definitely an improvement they made to them. Yeah, it's not true to say that the mechanics are final. Stick on the left there. Don't want to get left behind again. Feels like the end of the stage. The signpost is lower. Okay, they clearly haven't finished quite sorting out where all the items are, but it's still completable. I like that. Interestingly, completing the stage just brings me back to the title screen. So, try Starlight 2X. Now, is that because it's the first stage I've completed since I started doing level select to skip through? Or is it something to do with the fact there's an X on this level because they hadn't worked out where it was going to go in the game order? Because actually this level is feeling a little bit easier than some of the other levels. I don't think that always... Well, that's messy. These items in the final game do not cut into the background. Still. It's nice. They've got the looping designs. It's not the same. It's definitely not the same, but it's... You can see them evolving towards it. You kind of feel there should be something here. Leap of faith, not paid off. Let's try Act 3. Stage 3X, here we go. Now, this had one of my favourite beginnings of any stage in the original game. See, oh, that's just ruined it. So, the momentum-based gameplay in the original game would have flung you into the sky there. And you could, if you could get the positioning right, use... There we go. No, they really clearly in the original version of this game wanted to make you, force you. You can see them sort of testing and probing the limits of what you could do. Let's try that again. The wall clinging there and the fact the camera messed up just destroyed what should have been a pretty glorious. You spin into the ball. Yeah, but okay, the stage is not as vertical. So previously you could keep going up there for further versions of that level. But no, they clearly at this early version of the game were trying to test exactly what they could and couldn't do with the mechanics-based game design. That stage feels like it's not completable. Okay, on to the final level, which has the beautiful reimagined name Clockwork Zone. Clockwork Zone. Where's the W? Now, this is what Act 2 in the final game looked like. That feels like the beginning of Act 1. This feels like the beginning of Act 1 design-wise, but it's got the... Act 1 used to take place outside in the final version of the game. Whereas Act 2 was inside and looked a bit like this. These platforms don't move, don't rotate, don't move you. That's fine. See, this is still... So, okay, so in this prototype, Green Hill and Marble are looking pretty complete. Sparkling still has a lot of work to go, but it's in a playable state. I think... sorry, that was Sparkling, which became Spring Yard. Labyrinth, clearly nowhere near finished. Yeah, the Sonic's momentum there is just completely wrong. Is this a dead end? Starlight then, however, much more playable but still not finished. And Clockwork, much more to do. Well, this is new. So previously, Act 1 was outside, Act 2 moves you inside, and Act 2 had the background we saw in Act 1. Here, Act 2 just has a plain blue background. And these in Act 2, which used to zip you from one part to the zone, they don't work at all. They don't take you anywhere. So this looks like a fundamentally unplayable stage. So let's try Act 3. And then Act 3 would be in sort of in the sewers underneath Robotnik's base. And I can't select it. So there is no Act 3. Well, let's finish with the special stage then. Yeah, no. Oh, something's wrong there. Okay, there's the jump button. I seem to be able to control how fast the stage moves. I don't seem to be able to control how much it changes direction. Okay, so in the final version of the game, you definitely did not have direct control over the spinning speed of the stage. But there is a nice little jump button. Speed. Come on. Oh, okay, I can reverse it. That's interesting. Okay, they were oh no. Okay, anyone who's played Sonic the Hedgehog 4, I'm suddenly seeing where the special stage in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 came on, which I absolutely hated. They were based off the special stages on the Hedgehog 1, but because they were designed primarily for mobile phones, sort of games with gyro controls, they were like that, but you could actually sort of rotate the phone to control the movement. Now that should have fired me. Okay, it just restarted the stage. But yeah, no, in the Sonic the Hedgehog 4, you could use the gyro controls of the phone to control sort of the movement of the stage, and you sort of controlled Sonic's descent, and it really was just a descent. That now suddenly makes a lot more sense now that we've seen how the original plan and this prototype idea, which is not what they followed through with in the final game of Sonic 1, but it does put into context a lot more for what they went with for their imagined fourth game in the franchise, which came out over, a lot of people say it's a joke calling it Sonic 4 because it has so many changes, but a lot of what was in the original Act 1 of Sonic 4 was basically just a reimagining of the favourite bits from Sonic 1 anyway, so that's interesting. Okay, so that is a very interesting look at the prototype of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. That is game design more than a year off final completion, I think. Still a lot of work to do. But yeah, the fundamental mechanics of Sonic the Hedgehog, they're nearly spot on. The design for the first two levels in particular, Green Hill and Marble, very, very interestingly done. And well done, guys at Hidden Palace. Well done. Thank you for finding this. It's been lost for years. Yuji Naka has sort of expressed disappointment that it's gone missing. I'm sure he's delighted to see it. Will be delighted to see it's recovered. And I know a lot of people online are absolutely ecstatic to have a chance to play through this lost bit of gaming history and see what could have been had things gone down an ever so slightly different path.